Hello, welcome back. And today we're just going to continue where we left off from last time. So today's going to be on forgiveness. And where we left off last time was with teasing and how there's the chance of someone being offended. But the thing is, it's not just teasing, just words, actions that aren't even intended to tease, just existing can offend people. And this didn't really have a name, at least in common parlance, until recently, this past decade. It was coined actually in the 70s, microaggressions, but recently it's been used, and so I've come up with a counter to the concept of microaggressions, which is micrograce. So if we say, again, that teasing is going to help, especially from the strangers to the 150. If teasing is going to help that, then the concept of microaggressions and taking things that may or may not actually be intended to offend as offense that need to be corrected, that need to be called out. What you're doing is you're just creating this thicker barrier. And it's a friend-killing strategy. It's one of the, to be honest, one of the worst ideas I've heard of, in terms of how to deal with social issues. So I've come up with a term to counteract the concept of microaggressions. So I call it micrograce. I was also thinking microforgiveness, but micrograce runs easier off the tongue. And so these little infractions day to day that you might think, I wonder what someone meant by that. Instead, just go, it's probably nothing. Don't worry about it. And it used to be like that. If someone was always complaining, or we'd even say, don't be a tattletale if they were small mundane things. But as adults, we'd say, grow a spine, stiff upper lip, be a man, be a woman. So there may be actual bullying issues, but for the small stuff, there needs to be this concept of micrograce to just move on and not get caught up, because all you're doing is you're blocking off the ability to make friendships. So that's on the micro level. Now I want to talk about forgiveness on the bigger level, when there actually is an offense. And I think one of the big things that a lot of people get hung up on is this idea of the other person getting off the hook. They've done something wrong, and by me forgiving them, they're getting off scot-free when they don't deserve it. And I had to come to the realization it has nothing to do with deserve. It's what is, and what, not even what's best for them, what's best for me. Because if I used to think that if I refuse to forgive someone, if I hold anger for that person, what I'm doing is I'm kicking them out back into the strangers. But it's actually the opposite. I'm bringing them in. I'm bringing them in closer and poisoning other relationships. So let's say there's someone in social media, some person you don't know, that just writes some nasty piece on you. And you go, I can't believe this person, wrote this about me. And so what you do is you start talking about this person to your friends. And maybe not even necessarily gossip, but you're just bringing this negativity into your friendships. And they don't need this negativity unless it's actually applicable to them. They don't need this negativity. And so all you're doing is, instead of having a good time with your friends, you're just bringing up this negative situation unnecessarily. And so you're Like there's a saying that goes, "You're giving them rent-free space." That's exactly what you're doing. They don't need to be there, and they can stay out where they're not going to give you any mental trouble. And so, yeah, with this concept in place, I find it a lot easier to stomach forgiveness, because it's not about the other person, whether or not they accept forgiveness or not. You still get the benefit of forgiveness. Forgiveness is primarily for the person doing the forgiving, and not the person being forgiven. Their blessing of the forgiveness is dependent on them accepting it. The person doing the forgiving gets the blessing immediately for doing the forgiving. So I like to think of it in this analogy, in terms of giving up something that you have no use for. So let's say there's a drinking contest, two buddies going at it, and they're both so many drinks in, they are both drunk out of their minds. They're both feeling miserable, sick. They don't want to drink anymore, but they're playing this game. This game that's making them both sick. So finally one of them decides, you know what? I'm giving up. I'm throwing this match because it's of no good to either of us. Now the other so that person immediately, by stopping there, they're not paying for any more drinks. They're getting the benefit of no more money being paid out. They're not poisoning their systems anymore than they already have. Now the other person could decide, you know what? No, I'm keeping this game going. I don't care if you quit. And they can continue feeling more miserable, vomit, have hangover the next day, continue paying for more liquor, or they can accept and go, you know what? Yeah, let's stop here. They can accept it. So yeah, I find forgiveness being much easier to process and to do when I think of it as it's not, whether or not they're getting off the hook is irrelevant. There's still always consequences to deal with. The forgiving part is just getting this mental, spiritual, heartfelt load off you, and so you can continue living your life in peace with the rest of your friends. So I hope that has been helpful to a lot of you, and let me know what you think in the comments down below.